What LeBron James and Kevin Durant thought was just a relaxed podcast moment quickly turned into one of the most talked about conversations in basketball. What started as casual talk between two all-time greats suddenly ignited a massive debate across the sports world, because the topic drifted toward the one name that always sets the internet on fire: Michael Jordan. At first, it didn't seem controversial at all. Two modern legends discussing the game they love, comparing eras, sharing experiences. But then one comment, just a single offhand remark, escaped the boundaries of that friendly conversation. Within hours, clips started circulating online. Fans began dissecting every word, and suddenly the entire basketball community was arguing again about the same eternal question: who truly defines greatness? When players of LeBron and Durant's caliber speak openly, their words carry weight. These aren't just commentators or analysts. They're two of the most dominant scorers the league has ever seen, athletes who have shaped the modern NBA in real time. So when their discussion touched on Jordan's legacy, people didn't just listen, they reacted. For decades, Jordan's myth has lived almost untouched. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, and a competitive aura that many former players still describe as terrifying. To some fans, Jordan isn't just the greatest player ever. He's the standard by which every generation is judged. That's why even a subtle comparison or playful comment can explode into controversy. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about storytelling on a podcast anymore. It became a clash of eras. Jordan's era of physical defense and relentless competition. The modern era of pace, spacing, and superstar versatility. Supporters of Jordan argued that no modern player could replicate the fear he created in the 90s. Meanwhile, others pointed out that players like LeBron and Durant dominate in a completely different basketball landscape, one that demands more versatility, endurance, and skill across multiple positions. And that's how a simple conversation spiraled into another chapter of the never-ending GOAT debate. Because whenever Jordan's name enters the discussion, it's never just a comparison. It's a collision between generations, philosophies, and definitions of greatness. And the moment LeBron and Durant's comment surfaced, one thing became clear. The debate about Michael Jordan isn't fading anytime soon. If anything, it's only getting louder. Basketball fire.
With that three-pointer. So that leaves him with only one ring. And that one ring was because of a Draymond Green suspension. So looking at all of that, Kevin and LeBarbie both have no legitimate...
What started as a relaxed podcast moment between LeBron James and Kevin Durant quickly spiraled into something much bigger than either of them expected. A casual comment about basketball history suddenly ignited one of the fiercest debates the sport always returns to: who truly stands at the top of the mountain? But the situation reached another level when one of the most respected legends in the game stepped in: Magic Johnson. For Magic, this wasn't just another social media debate. When the conversation touched on the legacy of Michael Jordan, he felt compelled to respond. After all, Magic wasn't just a fan watching from afar. He was part of the generation that helped shape the modern NBA and witnessed Jordan's rise firsthand. When Magic addressed the situation, his message was clear. Jordan's impact on basketball, according to him, goes far beyond statistics or modern comparisons. He emphasized that MJ didn't simply dominate his era. He transformed the global perception of the sport. Magic pointed out something that many fans from that generation often repeat. Before Jordan, the NBA was popular, but after Jordan, it became a worldwide phenomenon. The intensity, the competitiveness, and the global spotlight that followed were unlike anything the league had experienced before. And that's why this moment exploded online. The podcast conversation didn't just go viral. It created a divide between generations of fans. Younger audiences who grew up watching LeBron and Durant dominate the modern game saw things through a different lens. Meanwhile, longtime followers of the league sided with Magic, defending the legacy of the player who defined the 1990s. In the end, what looked like a simple basketball discussion became another chapter in the sport's most passionate debate. Because whenever Jordan's legacy enters the conversation, emotions rise, legends speak up, and the entire basketball world starts arguing again. Basketball fire.
said, it's my league now.
Yeah.
He said, MJ, you had your turn. Larry Bird, you had your turn. Now it's my league.
I love it.
These are the moments that don't happen under the roaring lights of an arena. They happen in the quieter spaces of the game. Podcasts, interviews, off-the-record conversations, where guards drop and players speak more freely than they ever would during a press conference. And on July 9th, 2025, one of those moments quietly turned explosive. What was supposed to be just another relaxed sit-down between LeBron James and Kevin Durant suddenly became something much bigger. At first, the conversation flowed like any normal basketball discussion. Stories from the league, reflections on careers, and thoughts about the game they've helped define. But then a single comment slipped into the conversation. Not a rant, not an argument, just a few words. Yet those few words touched the one name that can still shake the entire basketball world, Michael Jordan. Within hours, the clip began spreading across social media. Fans replayed it again and again, dissecting every tone, every pause, every implication. What sounded like harmless talk inside the room suddenly became headline material outside of it. And then something even bigger happened. When Magic Johnson heard the conversation, he didn't stay quiet. For Magic, this wasn't just another sports debate. He had lived through the era that shaped Jordan's rise. He understood the battles, the pressure, and the transformation that turned MJ into the global icon he became. So when the conversation started challenging that legacy, even subtly, Magic felt the need to step in. That's when the situation stopped being a podcast moment and turned into a generational clash. Older fans rallied behind Magic and the legends of the past. Younger fans defended LeBron and Durant, the stars who defined the modern era. And just like that, a casual conversation had done the impossible. It reopened the biggest debate basketball has ever known. Because whenever Michael Jordan's name enters the conversation, the NBA world doesn't just listen. It erupts. Basketball fire.
David Robinson coming this way. So Mike just cuffed. And he just looked at
In the air.
And he kept looking. He kept looking. He kept looking. He went all the way down, Jack. He did a 360. Ooh. Bam! I said, that's it. That's it. It's over.
What looked like simple banter quickly turned into a full-blown controversy. One that reignited the GOAT debate that's been burning in basketball for more than 2 decades. Picture the scene. Kevin Durant sitting across from LeBron James and Steve Nash in the studio from Mind the Game. LeBron's podcast where some of the brightest basketball minds break down the mental and physical grind of playing at the highest level. The vibe at first was relaxed. No tension, no debates. Just 3 basketball geniuses talking about the game they've lived their entire lives. They were discussing how the league has evolved, how defenses have changed, how spacing works today, and how players from different eras would match up against each other. Then the conversation drifted toward the one topic that always sparks fireworks. Michael Jordan. At first, it sounded like harmless speculation. Durant casually reflected on how players from different generations might perform in today's game. LeBron chimed in with his own perspective about skill development and how modern athletes train differently. Nothing sounded disrespectful in the room. But once that clip escaped the studio and hit the internet, everything changed. Fans immediately began debating what they thought they heard. Some believed the comments subtly questioned Jordan's dominance. Others argued LeBron and Durant were simply analyzing eras like basketball historians. And then the clip reached someone who knew Jordan's era better than almost anyone. Magic Johnson. For Magic, Jordan wasn't just a name in the record books. He had witnessed the rise, the battles, and the transformation of MJ into the most feared competitor the league had ever seen. So when the conversation started circulating, Magic didn't stay quiet. He stepped in publicly to defend Jordan's legacy. And suddenly what started as a laid-back podcast conversation became a generational showdown between fans of the past and the present. Older fans rallied behind Jordan. Modern fans defended LeBron and Durant. And just like that, a casual studio conversation had reopened the biggest argument basketball has ever known. Because when the name Michael Jordan enters the room, it's never just a conversation. Basketball fire.
You guys got more out of the practices than you got
at
as
the
actually
game.
playing.
You're right. We practice, man. When you got 10 egos out on that court like
Best
that.
in the world.
Yes, going at each other every.
The vibe in the room was smooth. The energy felt real and relaxed. Nothing forced, nothing controversial at first. It was just LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steve Nash talking about what it really takes to keep chasing greatness deep into a career. On Mind the Game, the conversation had drifted into something every elite athlete eventually faces: the mental grind. Not the fame, not the money, not the championships, but the moment when you've already achieved almost everything and a quiet question starts creeping into your mind. Do I still want this? They talked about that brutal stage in a career when motivation isn't about proving people wrong anymore. It's about finding a reason inside yourself to keep going. That's when Durant casually leaned forward and dropped the line that changed everything. He said, "Every so often you think like, yeah, I'm 10, 12 years in. I've got 4 MVPs and 4 championships. But do I still want to do this?" You know what I'm saying? The room stayed calm. It still sounded like a normal conversation. Then Durant added something that made every serious basketball fan instantly connect the dots. He said some players reach that moment and think, maybe I want to go play baseball and then come back. Boom. The second those words landed, anyone who truly knows NBA history knew exactly who he was referencing. Michael Jordan. Jordan's shocking decision to leave basketball in 1993 and play baseball before returning to dominate the league again is still one of the most legendary chapters in sports history. So when Durant casually brought up that scenario, it didn't feel random. To many fans listening, it sounded like a subtle nod, maybe even a comparison to Jordan's famous break from a game. And once the internet caught that moment, the reaction exploded. Some fans thought Durant was simply discussing the mental toll of greatness. Others believed he was hinting at something bigger, questioning the mythology around Jordan's relentless drive. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. And that's when the debate that never truly dies started burning again. Jordan's era versus the modern era. Jordan's mindset versus today's superstars. And the ultimate question that splits the basketball world every single time. Who really is the GOAT? Basketball fire.